Hello, welcome to this short tutorial on how to use the MyMail plugin with WordPress to create a newsletter. I'm only going to be showing you some of the basic features and give you an overall picture of how the plugin works. I'm going to assume that you've already installed the plugin and we've already set up a template for your particular use. So the first thing we're going to do is log into the WordPress admin area. Once that's done, you'll be where I am, and you'll see that on the left there's a navigation, and one of the options is for the newsletter. Go ahead and click the newsletter. That will take us directly to the main editing screen for the campaigns. Now, the way that we've organized this is so that there is an already existing template which is not meant to be edited, but which is meant to be duplicated. And you can click the duplicate button to create a new campaign or a new newsletter, and this will allow you then to have a file that you can edit for your newsletter. You'll see it has appeared here with the number 2 appended at the end. Go ahead and click the edit button underneath this new one, and this will take us to the screen in which we can actually create and edit the newsletter itself. Now what we're going to do here is first run over the options at the top, and then I'm going to give you a general overview of how the main editing screen works, and then we'll walk through adding in some text and some images. So the first thing to note is that the campaign needs a title, and this should be an appropriate title, not the default one, and we're going to go ahead and just put in the word test after the AMT newsletter. And then we see that below this is a thing called the permalink. This is the URL that will be live and the destination for the actual newsletter on the web if someone wants to go there from the email that's sent by the plugin. We want to edit this section so that it is not very long and confusing, but as short and succinct as possible. In this case, we're going to basically duplicate what we've got for the campaign title, and the rules for this section is that it should be always lowercase, no uppercase, and you should have dashes instead of spaces, because this is a standard URL just like you type into your website or your web browser. Go ahead and click the OK button once you've edited that to your liking. That will change it and solidify that into the database. Now we need to have a subject. This will be the subject in the email that's sent out by the newsletter plugin. You can usually go ahead and just copy and paste what you've set for the campaign title. It can be different if you want it to be, however. Then below this you'll see there's something called a pre-header. The pre-header is a section that appears just below the subject in some email clients when the newsletter is sent. This will be 1 or 2 lines of text that will display even when the person who's receiving the email doesn't click to open the email. So this is a very good way to feature some particular content that allows you to make sure that they'll see this even if they don't open the email. In this case, I will just put in something like important info here. The from name will be the from address or the name of the person from which the email appears to be sent, and the from email will be the email from which it's appeared to be sent. In this case, you want to change it to this. The reply to email will usually be the same as the from email, but you can set that to be different if you want replies to go to a specific email. Okay, that's how you set up the basic introductory part of the newsletter. And once you've done that, then we have to go in and actually edit the main newsletter itself. Now the way this works is that in this section you see the template we've already set up. It already has the logo, it has a title here with the name of the newsletter that we're going to be working on, and it's got some dummy content of a different set of varieties. What we're going to do is look at how this works, and it happens to go by what are called modules. And if you see as I hover my mouse over the different sections here, the background changes and highlights. Each of these highlighted areas is separately a module. And a module is just a specific way of putting content into the newsletter. We've already set up some basic modules in our template, and we're going to be able to add and change modules to put in the content that you want into the newsletter. So if you notice that there are a bunch of little pen or pencil icons at the top left of each section that is editable. So the very first thing you might want to do is click to edit some of the content here to make sure that it's how you want. In this case, we're looking at the headline at the very top and noting that it's got AMTA newsletter, and then it's got some of these funny looking characters, which just is a way to force a space and then another space and then another space. That's what the ampersand NBSP semicolon means. It means just space. So when we look at that section here, you can see there's a little bit of space between the dash and the spring and the 6. That's what that little text did. You can use that to force spaces when just hitting the space bar doesn't work for you. We're going to go ahead and now look at the content area, and we're going to take some text that we've already prepared and go ahead and edit one of these sections and paste our own text in there. So looking at this section, we're going to note that on the image there's actually 2 pens, one of which is for the image itself, that's the lower one. The upper one is for the body of the text. If we click this one that says Edit Body, it will give us a screen that shows all of the text that is then part of that section. All we need to do now is go to another program, copy our text, select all the text in here, and go ahead and paste. That puts in the text, and we may have to do a little bit of formatting when we paste, particularly if you're coming from Word, to take out extra spaces between lines. And I'm going to start it like that. Okay, so now we've been taken back to the main editing screen, and we can go ahead and edit the headline in order to make that fit with our content. Go ahead and click the Insert button when you've got that set, and now you've got that article all the way to its end. You'll notice that at the bottom there's automatically a Read More button, but in this case we have 2 options. We either can remove the button, or we can actually take part of the article out and allow this Read More button to link to the full article on the website if it's been posted there already as an article. In this case, let's just remove the button. We can go ahead and click the Edit button, and you'll see that one of the options is Remove Element, and that will remove the button. And there it's gone. So now we've got that complete article posted. Now let's say you want to change the picture that is associated with this article. Then you can simply hover over the Edit button that is associated with the image. Click that, and then it will load the Media Manager for the MyMail newsletter plugin. Here you can simply choose a different image, click it, and you'll notice that it automatically fills in the alternate text, which will display if someone hovers their mouse over that image. And if you'd like, you can set a URL to which the image will link to if someone clicks on it. We can go ahead and click the Insert button, give it a second to update, and you'll see the new picture is posted there. Now, what if you would like to add an image that is not yet in the database? Well, let's do that as a part of creating a whole new module that has new content. So to create a new module, you can hold the mouse over the plus button where it says Add Module, and then if you click it, you get a drop-down list. These are the different types of modules, and each one of these basically is a different way of formatting content, and they're pretty self-explanatory. images on the left and right, either floating or static or at 1/2 or 1/3 of the size. You also have the separator, which is the one that we're on here, which is a useful one. Intro, full-size image, and then 4 options for text. 1/1 means how many columns. In this case, it's full column, 2 columns, 3 columns, and 4 columns. So let's go ahead and put in a half floating image on the right, and whenever we click here, it's going to insert the module above the section that we've got. So if we've got the separator and we click on the separators plus and then insert this, it's going to show above. So now here it automatically puts in a dummy image, and it does give you the width and height of the image, which is important because to make it look as good as possible, you'd like your image to be about that aspect ratio. So now we've got dummy text, we've got a dummy image, we've got a read more button, and we've got headline goes here. So we can go ahead and take our editing button for the headline and type in something and hit insert. Then we want our image to be something other than this dummy image. We can click the edit button on the image, and we have a couple options. You can choose images that are already uploaded to the database, but if you need a new image, then you need to click on this button, Media Manager. When you click that, this loads WordPress's own Media Manager. This is outside of the newsletter plugin now. And this allows you to simply drag and drop images into the space. So I'm going to go ahead and drag in an image. We've already used the image before, but this will just demonstrate the idea. It uploads, gives you a progress bar, and once it's done, it will actually automatically fill in the title of the image, and you can change that here if you like. It also gives you some options, but you can ignore all of this and simply say insert into post. That will take you back to the newsletter plugin's own media manager that you've seen before, and it's going to load that image. And if you want to use that image now, you can simply click it and hit the insert button when it becomes available, and then give it a moment and it'll load up the image in that spot. So that's how you create a new image that you've got, say, on your desktop, and put it into both into the WordPress database and into the MyMail newsletter plugin newsletter. So from this point, we may want to do something like add a separator above that point to remove the content from what's above it. We can also do something very interesting, which is to use one of these modules and add content that's already been posted on the website dynamically into this spot without having to do it manually. So let's say you want to do that for this module. If so, we can click this little, looks like a magic wand, the auto button. And if we click the auto button on that module, what's going to happen is it's going to load up a list of content on the website. It's showing right now posts. We can also have it show pages, also listings and events. We can select one of our posts. It'll highlight in blue, and then we can choose whether we want to show just an excerpt from the post or the full content. If we choose excerpt, this would require that the post, when it was created, has had in its excerpts section something put in there so that this plugin can use that. An excerpt is usually a handcrafted summary of the post, and it's not an automatically created thing. You need to make sure that's in there if you want to use this section. In this case, we do have an excerpt, and we'll go ahead and hit the insert button. And there we see now in this section it has taken the image that was associated with the post. It's created the text here, it's created the title, And it also has the Read More button, which is automatically linked to the post. So this is a nice way to put in content directly from a post that's already been made. Now let's say you want to do the same thing, but instead of having an excerpt, you want to have the full post. We can also do it in a way that changes the format. Let's go ahead and hover over the bar, add a new module. In this case, we're going to do it as a full article, so we're going to do 1:1 text. And we see the modules inserted here. We'll quickly insert a separator above that. And now we want to make this pull in that post. We'll click the Auto button. We'll select the post. We'll click Full Content. And we'll click Insert. So now we get text that spans the whole width of the newsletter. It puts the image in, it puts in the headline, it puts in all the text, including the links, including the headline headers, header styles, and all the way to the end. In this case, we again would not need this Read More button because this is the full article, there's nothing more to read, so we remove that button. So now we've got that full article. So that's the basic idea for adding content to the newsletter. Let's assume that you're finished with the newsletter and now you want to look at sending it out. If you scroll all the way to the top, look at the top right, you'll see there's an Update button. This is essentially a way to save all of the changes that you've done to the newsletter to the WordPress database. Go ahead and click that button and give it a moment to update the database so that at this point, if you needed to, you could come back later to this newsletter and make further changes, and all your changes would be saved. So now that we've saved it, we can look at the delivery section, and if we wanted to send the campaign, we'd check the box, and that would allow us to change the date. If you click on the date, you get a drop-down calendar. You can click a future date. You can set the time as well in UTC. And then just below that, you'll notice there's a section where it's got an email address. If you put in your email address and you click the Send Test button, it'll go ahead and send a test newsletter just to this one email address and gives you a confirmation there. So this is a good way of checking before you send it out to your full list whether or not it comes through correctly and looks just like you want it to. Then below you have to check in the receiver's box the list to whom you want the newsletter to be sent, probably the newsletter list. The number at right tells you the total number of users that the campaign will be sent to. For this options section, please ignore it. Don't change anything here or click anything in here. It only messes up the formatting, and it's hard to get back if you change anything. That's why we've created the template in the first place, so please ignore that section. And then from there, you're pretty much done. All you need to do then is click the Send Now button, and it would then schedule this campaign at the time that you've said, and we'll send it out to the list that you've indicated. That should be it. Thanks a lot.